In the opening scene, we see a man accidentally running over a deer with his car after passing a quarantine zone. The man sees that the deer is unfortunately dead, and so he drives on. However, one scene later, the animal miraculously comes back to life as if nothing had happened. Nothing too weird here. The movie is set in South Korea, where we are introduced to the main characters, a divorced dad, Seok-woo, and his daughter, Soo-han. Seok-woo is a phone manager who overworks and therefore has no time to dedicate to his daughter. He always chooses work over her. He offered her Wii on her birthday when she already had one.
Mamma mia!
And he even missed her school recital for a song she had been rehearsing for weeks, which Olin eventually made their relationship quite fragile. As a result, Soo-han, who happens to have her birthday, wants to spend it with her mom instead, who lives in Busan, a city less than 3 hours away by train from Seoul, where they initially departed. After a few back and forths between the dad and his daughter, she could finally convince him to go see her mom, and so they took their train to Busan.
However, as the protagonists arrive at the train, it appears that a suspicious woman had entered as well. This woman appeared to be struggling with some sort of a serious condition that resembles rabies, and that's when things take a dark turn very quickly. The woman appears to be very erratic and violent and bites one of the stewardesses on the train, who in turn becomes sick instantly. It seems like the sickness is rapidly transmittable, and in the blink of an eye, the entire train is filled with infected zombie-like people who are driven by bloodthirst. The more they infect within the strain, the more cornered the healthy residents become. The realization that these people are no longer human but rather reanimated finally sets in. In fact, Soku discovers that this outbreak is the result of a virus that leaked from a biotech company that he had shares in. He can't help but feel a sense of responsibility for what has happened, since at the beginning of the movie, he makes the decision to pull his assets from this company.
Throughout the movie, we learn more about the effect of this virus as the characters work together to maneuver across the train while avoiding the affected. The first noticeable thing is how rapidly the disease spreads and depending on where the victim was bitten on his body. As the plot progresses, the characters are faced with different adversities that they manage to more or less overcome. At one point, the train stops at another station where they disembark to take another train.
They quickly realize that chaos has ensued in this place as they are greeted by a horde of police zombies who chase them down back to the train they arrived in. Unfortunately, not everyone manages to make it back to the train, and some of the characters are separated from their loved ones on their way back. That includes the two elderly sisters, the man and his pregnant wife, Sokhu and his daughter, and the boy and the girl from the baseball team. After finally boarding, these characters are met with new adversity. They had ended up being in car 9, where they are separated from their loved ones by 3 cars. These cars are however overcrowded with zombies, and they have no choice but to cross them to get to car 13. However, in the dark, the zombies appear to be completely blind, and that is quickly taken advantage of by the characters every time the train enters a tunnel until they had finally arrived at car 13. In car 12, one of the characters steps on a can and alerts the zombies, and they are chased all the way to car 15. In car 15 are sheltered another set of characters. They are presented to us as the antagonists. They are conniving, paranoid, and have no intentions to help. They seem to have been influenced by this wealthy yet greedy businessman who wants nothing but his own good. The main crew is locked out and they try their best to get in, but they are outnumbered and overpowered by the passengers of car 15. This selfishness resulted in the demise of the pregnant woman's husband and one of the elderly sisters, who had to sacrifice themselves to buy the others some time. These sacrifices didn't go in vain though, because they managed to finally get in the car. But due to suspicions of them being infected, they were verbally kicked out to the next car that in reality favors them, since it's farther away from the zombies. Meanwhile, the elderly sister decides to release the zombies on car 15 as an act of revenge for letting her sister die. When they arrive at the next station, it turns out that there's a collision, and they are forced to switch trains. Surprisingly, the businessman and the steward were able to survive the outbreak after the elderly woman's actions. On his way to the second train, the businessman becomes responsible for the death of the baseball couple, the steward, and even the conductor somehow. But karma did not let this one slide, and it came back to bite him, literally.
No, 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 no.
While all of this is happening, Sukwu, his daughter, and the pregnant woman are saved by the homeless man who sacrifices his life so they can make it to the second train. In the end, the only remaining characters are Sukwu, his daughter, the pregnant woman, and sadly, the infected businessman. Even in death, this man finds a way to ruin things and bites the dad who now has to sacrifice himself for his daughter and the pregnant woman to live. The girl and the mom finally arrive in Busan, and they start walking down a tunnel when a group of soldiers guarding the exit notices them and think they're zombies. The soldiers are giving the order to shoot them, but right before they're about to pull the trigger, the girl starts to sing the song that she had dedicated to her father at the beginning of the movie. Based on this ending, we don't really know to what extent the pandemic has spread and if it has left Korea or not. But despite us all agreeing that this is a fictional movie, it still makes us question the possibility of coexisting with a virus or any disease of that magnitude. Having lived in the barely ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we can wonder if we are going to be better prepared as a society and if scientists will have the means to fight back as we did with the COVID-19 pandemic. But to assess the realism of Train to Busan, we can refer to an article published by biolaw lecturer Pinlin Lau, and here it is.
A virus that transforms humans into zombie-like creatures might not be a far-fetched idea. After all, seeing how rapidly gene editing technologies, such as the revolutionary CRISPR-Cas9, have been progressing. Zombification has already been witnessed in the insect world and is already being used by scientists to improve agriculture and other practices. And diseases, like rabies, have symptoms that make people act like zombies, and if someone really wanted to optimize it for whatever reason, it could, without a doubt, be possible. It all comes down to the user of this technology though. If it falls into the wrong hands, we could be well on our way towards a dangerous path, where a better understanding of biology is our demise.